Good evening and welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. 2 arrests are made after a 12-year-old boy is killed in a crash on the M62 in West Yorkshire. We'll be live at the scene with the latest. Also tonight, the rising tide of shoplifting, how city centre stores are being targeted daily.
So we have these people in our stores every day, emptying our shelves, looting our stores, taking hundreds of pounds at a time, and that's, it's not just here, it's in all our stores.
After another wet weekend, we'll look at the impact of cancelled summer events in our region. And the 13-year-old from Pudsey who's faced extreme weather sleeping in a tent for over a year.
And how nice to see the blue sky. This was a scene in Old Micklefield earlier this afternoon. But what about the rest of the week? It certainly looks a lot better than we've had over the last few weeks. Join me for the very latest.
A second person has been arrested after a 12-year-old boy died in a crash while trying to cross the M62 motorway in West Yorkshire on Saturday night. A 47-year-old man is being questioned on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. Police had appealed for information after the vehicle involved in the collision failed to stop at the scene. The latest arrest comes after a 36-year-old man was held on suspicion of causing or allowing the death of a child. David Rhodes is at the scene near Cleckheaton now. David.
Bridget, this is the busiest motorway in Yorkshire. There is now a complex police investigation ongoing that has to answer one question. How did a 12-year-old boy end up on the central reservation of this motorway, an action that would result in his death? A warning, there are flashing images. Officers rushed to the scene on Saturday night after they received calls just after 9:30 of a single vehicle crash on the slip road to the Hartshead motorway services. Then just before 10 p.m, officers received further reports of 2 people walking along the motorway shortly before a black Toyota CHR collided with a 12-year-old boy on the eastbound carriageway. The police say the child was trying to get from the central reservation to the hard shoulder. A 47-year-old man from the Bolton area has today been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. In a statement, West Yorkshire Police said, "We continue to conduct a number of inquiries into this dreadful incident and to support the victim's family." A man believed to be driving the Toyota CHR, which failed to stop after it was in collision with the victim, has now been arrested and will be questioned about the incident. As part of our inquiries, we are appealing for anyone who has CCTV or dash camera footage of the Toyota CHR's movements after the collision with the child to contact us. Separately, a 36-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of causing or allowing the death of a child, and officers from the West Yorkshire Force are still trying to piece together the tragic events that took place on this stretch of motorway. The police have not named the 12-year-old boy who died here on Saturday night, and to recap, a 47-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving, and separately, a 36-year-old man has been arrested on causing or allowing the death of a child. Bridget.
Thanks, David. A retail chain says every one of its stores in Leeds is being targeted daily by shoplifters. The Co-op is calling for more police action after a big increase in cases of retail crime and antisocial behaviour in their shops. Meanwhile, some staff at John Lewis in the city have started wearing body-worn cameras similar to those used by the emergency services. Latest figures show that police forces in West, South and North Yorkshire recorded an average of more than 90 shoplifting offences every day in the last year. The Co-op recorded 175,000 incidents between January and June this year. That's an increase of 35% compared to 2022. The chain says a Freedom of Information request showed police failed to respond to 71% of serious retail crimes reported. Here's our business correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
Shoplifting taken to a different level. This isn't the sneaky removal of one or two items, but a brazen attempt to smash and grab as much as possible from co-op stores across the country.
And then we'll have instances in our stores, a lot of our stores, where they will breach the kiosk and they'll either jump up or come round over the kiosk.
At this one in Leeds, it's a daily occurrence. Gangs sweeping the aisles and raiding the counter. High-value items like alcohol, cigarettes and medicines are targeted, along with steak and coffee.
They'll get the bags out, the sacks out and just completely strip the shelves. We don't challenge, as in physically get involved, but we'll ask them to leave our stores. At that point, we're getting threats of stabbings or threats of needles being used against us.
Across Leeds, 6 city area stores are raided regularly, despite security measures. This store is bristling with CCTV cameras. There's a security guard here as well, but it doesn't seem to be making any difference. The store is targeted on a daily basis and is losing tens of thousands of pounds every year.
It's probably seen by some members of the public that it's cost of living crisis impacts. That's absolutely not what we're seeing. We're seeing drug addicts come in our stores who are stealing to order, gangs who are organised in what they're doing, stealing to order. We understand the police might not be able to get there in time sometimes, but what we do ask is maybe the police start looking at what they can do to remove these people and stop them reoffending.
Body-worn cameras are one way of providing extra security, and at John Lewis in Leeds, all staff are now being offered the opportunity to wear one.
It tends to de-escalate anybody who's a bit aggressive. Obviously it gives us the evidence that we need if there has been any activity of shoplifting. We've got it basically on camera, so we can submit that as evidence to the police if they require it. And it's all, again, just giving us a bit more evidence to get people convicted.
Investing at this level is a very significant proportion of any retailer's income. And that does mean, as I mentioned earlier, that we don't have money to invest in lowering prices. We don't have money to invest in our suppliers. We don't have money to invest in the communities within which we operate, which is how we as a partnership would prefer to spend that significant amount.
These co-op CCTV pictures show the determination of some of those involved. This isn't a victimless crime, affecting staff and consumers amidst fears it's getting worse. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North.
Well, the NPCC, which represents police chiefs, says officers focus on targeting prolific offenders, organised crime networks and ensuring effective prevention measures are in place. The head of security at the Co-op, Paul Gerard, told me some of the measures they have in place.
We spend 4 times the national average per store on security and safety measures. We have state-of-the-art CCTV, we have body-worn cameras, we have guarding, we have undercover guarding. So there's always ways we will look to support and protect our colleagues.
It's reported that organised crime gangs are behind this huge rise in shoplifting offences. What items are being targeted in a kind of steal-to-order approach by these gangs?
The rise that we've seen, the 35% rise in the first 6 months of 2023, is down to organised crime. And what they're looking to target is high-value products. So it could be protein like steak, fish, meat. It could be spirits. It could be cigarettes. It could be some health and beauty products. It's things that they can steal on scale, which then can be sold for a decent price and therefore put that money back into other activities.
And it's still a huge problem despite all these measures you've put in place. What more should the police be doing?
It is a huge problem, and I think what we need from the police is a proper, effective response. It cannot be right when as happened just last week, 3 masked men burst into a store, jump behind the kiosk and start to shift to steal tens of thousands of pounds worth of product. When we ring the police on 999, they tell us not to ring on 999, to ring on 101. There are some police forces that automatically make shoplifting a 101 issue. We need the police to take this seriously. And we need actually the police to look at what Nottinghamshire police have done, what Sussex police have done, and to begin to really work with us to target persistent and prolific offenders.
Paul Gerard, thank you very much for talking to us.
Pleasure.
Plans to reverse a ban on blue badge parking in York city centre will be put to the public. The ban on disabled parking in pedestrianised areas was introduced in 2021 to make way for anti-terrorism bollards. York Council's new Labour leader said stopping the ban was a top priority after the group took control in May. Residents are invited to have their say, with the consultation running until the end of next month. A man's been arrested on suspicion of murder after the death of a woman in Sprotborough in Doncaster on Saturday. Police were called to reports of a dispute inside a property on Main Street where a 53-year-old woman had been stabbed. She died a short time later. A 52-year-old man was arrested at the scene. Plans have been submitted for a £3.5 million redevelopment at Fountains Abbey and Studley Royal near Ripon. The plans include improvements to the water garden area, accessible toilets and a new cafe. The National Trust says it will all be in keeping with the original 18th century design. Another weekend, another bout of wet weather. Weeks of rain have led to some summer events and festivals in our region being called off. Organisers of the Huddersfield Food and Drink Festival said they were heartbroken to have to cancel the event because of poor ground conditions at Greenhead Park. Dozens of traders faced the prospect of surplus stock. Elsewhere, some other shows did go ahead, despite the deluge. Phil Bodmer reports.
Early August, but more like early autumn. Another wet weekend in a soggy summer. Wellies, brollies, hats and coats amid the mud and steel grey skies over Emley Show on Saturday. Locals bullish in deciding not to let the weather rain on their parade.
Don't put us off, we're used to it from where we're from, so a bit of an umbrella here with the company's logo on, so a bit of promotion as well, so we don't mind.
It's fantastic. I think it's really good for the community and just everyone to get together. I know the weather's rubbish and that, but it's been really, really good.
Elsewhere, there were casualties. The Huddersfield Food and Drink Festival falling victim to the damp conditions at Greenhead Park. This bakery and brick house had prepared more than 3,000 cakes when the show was cancelled. But a massive community response meant the stock didn't go to waste.
We put a post on Facebook and we got like over 2,000 shares on it, and we're so blown away, like I can't say how grateful we are for it. Like, you don't ever expect it to go that far and wide, and like the response has just been amazing, and it's been so nice. And you know, it's like yesterday we had queues down the road and stuff, and it's like, why are people so nice? You know, like they don't owe me anything, so it's really nice to just see that people wanting to help other people out.
My brother's granddad shared on Facebook that they had food festival and got cancelled, so I was like, might as well come down.
My daughter again that told me this festival's on, it's been cancelled. We need to go down to the bake shop and get everything we can.
They're working really hard, and the weather, or for whatever reason, has stymied them. So yes, it's something that you would do, isn't it?
It was a similar story too for Lyndon. Working from a small kitchen in Huddersfield, he'd spent the week preparing for his first major event since setting up his business 6 months ago.
Made 100 kilograms of hummus, 20 kilograms of kimchi and a ridiculous amount of olives, which is all frozen in different people's freezers around Huddersfield because everyone's been lovely and really helpful with that. I used all the hummus money, and now I'm like going into my own savings just to like survive now, because I just spent everything. Big investment on it, which is a shame, but I should be able to recoup.
Summer may have so far disappointed, but whatever the weather, cold or wet, it seems unable to dampen the community, or for that matter, the entrepreneurial spirit. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North.
Is here now. Just how bad was the rain over this weekend across the region?
Well, actually, the events in western parts of our region were cancelled because of the cumulative rainfall we've had since the end of June. Remember, Sheffield had its second wettest July on record, and those records go back 140 years. But it was a different picture towards the coast. There was another area of intense rainfall. We've got some pictures from Robin Hood's Bay that was taken on Saturday. You can see the volumes of water cascading down the road into the sea. There was some localised flooding there, and Hutton Mulgrave, which is just outside Whitby. These areas had around about a month's worth of rain in 12 hours, and that caused flooding across quite a large part of the North York Moors and towards the coast. And certainly that comes off the back of flooding last week. There was flooding in Caton Bay, and there was flooding at Scarborough Cricket Ground, North Marine Road. So it's been a really tough time towards the coast in particular.
I mean, is there any end in sight to this wet weather we're having?
Well, there is. We can forget any idea of the heat wave returning that we had in June. That said, this week will be an improvement. The jet stream is temporarily moving northwards. That's great news. It means temperatures are on the up, so we'll have a short burst of warmth on Thursday. But then I think for the second half of August, the jet stream assumes a more normal position, so it won't be getting stuck in a rut and giving us days upon days of heavy rainfall, a more changeable pattern. There'll be some nice warm sunshine, but there will also be some rain at times.
Make the most of it while it lasts. Consider the lives of local residents. That's the plea from an MP after complaints that heavy goods vehicles are using a small road as a rat run in Halifax. People who live on Jumples Crag have enlisted the support of MP Holly Lynch to try and get extra restrictions imposed to stop lorries. Tom Ingle reports.
Watch the yellow lorry. This video is slowed down. The road is narrow, the lorry slows, the trailer rocks sideways and damages the branch of a tree. There are warning signs and a 20 miles per hour speed limit on Jumples Crag in Halifax, but people who live here say heavy goods vehicles still use it as a cut-through, blighting their lives.
We've lived here since 1974. This was a country lane. Nobody wants to give way. There is nothing stopping any vehicle leaving Halifax to here. There's no junction. It's a straight run. So by the time they get here, they're at 60 miles an hour, which has been proved by the council putting a road traffic survey in.
It's the constant hooting and shouting. Walking on that road to catch a bus, there's many a time that I've actually been sworn at, told to get off the road. Well, what am I supposed to do? You know, I'm not Mary Poppins, can't fly.
Halifax MP Holly Lynch agrees. Drivers using the road as a shortcut should consider people who live on it.
It's incredibly frustrating because the council have listened, have put some of these mitigations in place, but unfortunately those vehicles are still coming through. The council are further consulting, looking at weight limits to try and restrict further that access, but it is an appeal to people as well. If you're coming through there, if you're driving a heavy goods vehicle, don't use it. Just think about those residents. It'll be difficult for you to get through. Be sympathetic to those neighbours. Avoid it if possible.
Calderdale Council tell us they have completed a lengthy legal process to introduce a 3.5-tonne weight limit on the road, and signs will be installed. It's too late for the tree, but Linda and Claire say action is needed before something worse happens. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Halifax.
Now over to Sally with the sport.
Thank you. Yes, well, first we start with the Lionesses. England are through to the quarter-finals of the World Cup, but it was a tough game for them against Nigeria this morning and went to penalties. 2 Yorkshire players had a crucial role in those, with both Beth England and Rachel Daly scoring. And watching every moment were girls at the Kilmarsh Dynamos in Derbyshire, where captain Millie Bright started her football career. And there was plenty of excitement at England's win.
Struggled to get girls interested, but since the Lionesses have been playing the Euros last year, it's really brought it on.
Brilliant, amazing.
I've said it from day one, this is going to be the hardest tournament by far to the date in the women's game, but it's one that we were expected. You know, it's a challenge that we knew we were going to face, and again, I've said it from our first game, we're prepared to play the ugly and the good, and football is not always pretty and perfect, although we always want to play nice football.
Their next game is on Saturday. Now, the EFL season kicked off this weekend and Leeds United made a dramatic return to the Championship, coming back from 2-0 down to draw with Cardiff City. Leeds fought back strongly in the second half, Liam Cooper heading in their first goal from a corner, although he did injure himself. And just as it looked like Cardiff would cling on for victory, 5 minutes into added time, Crescencio Somerville equalised. Elland Road roared. And Barnsley couldn't have asked for a better start to their League One campaign with an incredible 7 goals against Port Vale. Devonte Cole scored a hat-trick. This was his 3rd, going it alone to roll the ball into the back of the net. And the goals, they just kept on coming. 7-0 the final score. It's the first time a team has won by 7 goals on the first weekend of a season since 1962. And in the League Two Yorkshire derby, Harrogate came out on top over Doncaster, beating the Rovers 1-0. Jack Muldoon took a second-half penalty, scoring for the win at the Eco Power Stadium. To the Cycling World Championships in Glasgow now, and Cadina Cox successfully defended her world title on the track last night. Cox, who's from Leeds, retained her rainbow stripes in the 500-metre time trial with a winning time more than 2 seconds faster than her nearest rival, and that despite undergoing recent surgeries.
So I actually had surgery on my hip back in December and then had to go back in and have surgery again in February. And then after that, my knees decided to flare up. So it's been a bit of a bumpy road back. I think I've had between 6 and 8 weeks training. So yeah, I'm quite happy with what I've done today.
And congratulations too to Yorkshire's Kat Ferguson, who won a silver medal in the junior road race on Saturday. She narrowly missed out on the rainbow stripes and is a rising star in women's cycling. So look out for her. That is your sport for now.
Thanks, Sally. Now, we've reported on the extreme weather a lot on Look North, but there's one schoolboy who knows more about it than most of us. 13-year-old Billy Thompson has camped out in his garden every single night for just over a year. He's gone through 3 different tents and put up with all sorts of conditions, but that hasn't put him off. He's decided to keep going for another 2 years to raise money for a homeless charity, as Hannah Gray reports.
In the back corner of this garden in Pudsey is Billy's tent. This is where the 13-year-old has spent the past 365 nights.
So I was celebrating my birthday and my mum had bought me a tent in the garden. She got annoyed at me because I wasn't using it, so I decided, right, I'm going to sleep outside in this tent and I'm going to show her that I am going to use it. And then I've just continued for over a year.
And of course, we've had some wild weather recently. Billy's put up with all sorts, from heavy snow to heat waves, and he's got through 3 different tents.
I'm really proud of him. He's stuck at it. He's done really well. You know, I've walked him down to the tent on an evening. I'm in a coat and thermals and freezing, and he's in a pair of sliders, a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, and he's seemed very comfy, yeah.
When it's raining and it's snowing, it's all kind of like, oh, that's loud outside of the tent. Believe it or not, but when it was snowing, my porch actually collapsed in because of the weight, and my mum had to come and dig me out.
It's a big commitment for the entire family. They had to join him and go camping for their summer holiday, and sleepovers are a challenge too.
Sometimes it does get in the way a bit when I'm going to get down to my granddad's, and then we need to take a tent, and then I need some bedding, and it's a bit annoying and frustrating to do, but if it helps someone, it should be done.
And that's exactly what he wants to do, help the homeless by fundraising.
We saw Emmaus was a really good charity because they're not just giving you a bowl of soup at Christmas and then leaving you. They continuously help you even after they've given you support.
It's nice that he's getting the recognition, but what we're wanting is that the charity get as many donations as they can.
And so Billy's decided to continue his challenge for at least another 2 years. He wants to beat the 3-year camping record and encourage more people to donate. Hannah Gray, BBC Look North, Leeds.
What an excellent boy. Well, what weather can he expect? Let's go over to Paul for an update.
Thank you very much. Well, you should come to Yorkshire more often because you brought the sunshine. I mean, just look at this in Wensleydale. This was taken in Hawes earlier on with some fair weather cloud and some sunshine. Don't know what these flowers are, but absolutely beautiful. And this was the scene in Leeds this morning with a lovely view there across the cityscape. So keep the pictures coming in, especially because we've got more sunshine to come through the course of this week on Twitter, on Instagram, and on the Weather Watcher website. So I think for tomorrow it's looking for most of us dry with some sunshine. We have just got a bit of a complication to come across southern areas, perhaps South Yorkshire, the North Midlands. Thicker cloud might bring 1 or 2 spots of rain, 1 or 2 showers for a time. Let's have a look at what's happening then. It's this little feature, complicated thing, just a weak one bringing that thicker cloud, but then pressure builds. We've not seen this since the end of June. We've got a push of warmer air on Thursday, but Blinken will miss it because the Atlantic returns on Friday. Behind this cold front, there'll be fresher air with sunshine and showers, and that's the way of it for next weekend, but certainly improvement on what we've just had. Now, you can see on the satellite picture, we did have that build-up of fair weather cloud, but it's melting away really rapidly. So we're left with a lovely evening wherever you are across Yorkshire, into the North Midlands with some sunshine. A few showers, though, coming into the Yorkshire Dales. This is associated with that weak weather front, and it might bring cloud and those showers ending up across South Yorkshire, the Peak District in particular. But elsewhere, it should be a fine end to the night, and we'll see temperatures around 9 or 10 degrees. And so tomorrow's high water times, beautiful day along the coast. That makes the change. Scarborough 9:48, and again at 10:36. So most of us waking to plenty of sunshine, with the exception of more southern parts of our region. There's that cloud and the odd spot of rain, but it pushes away southwards. And then I think certainly a lovely day to come, particularly across West and North Yorkshire, but South Yorkshire seeing some decent sunny spells breaking through the clouds. Let's have a look at the top temperatures. We're looking at highs around 20 Celsius, marginally below average. The average is around about 21, possibly 22 in the cities and towns, but 20 Celsius again is a big improvement on what we had for much of July. Now, this further outlook, it's a decent reading if you got time off this week. Wednesday looks dry with some sunshine. There's that peak in temperatures, 26 is almost 80 Fahrenheit in Old Money, and then we're back to sunshine and showers as we head into the weekend, and that is the forecast.
Thank you, Paul. That's it from us. Keely Donovan will be here with the late news at 10:30.